there was never like an instance where I was like, I'm going to immediately make a career out of this. I just wanted to give it a try. And I fell in love so quickly. But I just think in anything, like if you're self-taught, it's because you wanted it so badly. I feel like a lot of people sometimes feel like there's no space for them because like it's a massive hustle culture here. And with film, It's like, let's just chill for a sec. People think that the only thing they're paying for is for us to be there on set that day and like hit a button. Your art, especially like if you're working on a personal project, kind of gets recycled in the same way that just regular old content does. Also, like it's not our hobby, you know, like it's our livelihood and this is our career. But it's fun and I never ever feel like I'm working. So that's like, I don't know who can say that. Not many people can say that about their job.
Welcome to the Sunday Podcast. I'm Kaela Gordon and I'm your host for this podcast, a podcast that talks to creatives that are in all fields, from illustrators to art directors, as well as founders of large and small businesses, diving into their journey, how they got to where they are, insights on their specific role, advice for anyone looking to get into their specific field, or anyone interested in just learning more about the creative world, looking at the lows, but also the big wins. This is the Sunday Podcast. Our guest today is a self-taught digital and film photographer based in Toronto. Kaela Leone has an eye for editorial composition and organic, authentic moments. In this episode, we talk about digital versus film, wedding photography, and photographers' art getting recycled like everyone's content on socials. Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. This is truly the first time I've spoken to someone who spells their name the same as I do.
I know, that's so crazy to me. I know I've truly, I don't think I've ever met someone who spelled it Kaela. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. I'm honestly so excited.
Of course. Okay, so your stuff is absolutely stunning, beautiful, love your work. So did you always know you wanted to be a photographer? And did you shoot growing up?
No. So growing up, I mean, I was always involved with the arts in some way, shape, or form. I grew up as a competitive dancer. So dance was like my whole world. Like 15 to 20 hours a week was spent in studio with my friends. But once I approached, I guess, the end of high school, that was kind of around the time when on TV there was the spin-off show from, I think it was The Hills, and it was called The City. I don't know if you remember that show.
No, I do not. I know The Hills, not The City.
Okay, so there was a spin-off show where Whitney, I think her last name's Port, went to New York and became a PR person. And I just thought that world was so intriguing to me. And now in retrospect, thinking back, I think it was because they got to do so many photo shoots for different fashion brands. And it was mostly seeing her on set or like the fast pace of her job that was so intriguing to me. So I actually went to school for communications. And it took me 6 years to get my undergrad because I was just, dealing with some mental health up and downs and just, I think maybe not necessarily being in the right field. But yeah, that was kind of my goal, was to be in PR. And then once I kind of realized what that entailed, I wanted nothing less. I did not want to be part of that world whatsoever. And I did a lot of things in the meantime. Like I graduated, I still worked in communications, not in a PR setting, but for different companies, and always did a lot of, the social content, which always kind of teetered on doing photography or video content. And then it wasn't until 2019 that I just took the full-on plunge into photography. I don't know exactly what it was. I think I was just seeing a lot of close friends of mine shooting a lot of film, especially, and I was just so drawn to it. And there was never like an instance where I was like, I'm going to immediately make a career out of this. I just wanted to give it a try. And I fell in love so quickly. And it just escalated really, really fast. And it's only been like 3 years, I guess, at this point. But yeah, it's like my whole world now. And I'm so grateful and I love it so much.
And did you grow up shooting at all? Like, was it kind of in the back of your mind?
So growing up, my dad had a dark room in our basement. So, I mean, he had a full-time job, but then at night, late at night, he would spend hours and hours and hours in the basement working on large-scale medium format prints and developing them himself. And my dad and I don't have a relationship. So for the longest time, I kind of steered clear of photography because it just reminded me of him. And there was just that association that I just didn't want anything to do with it. But it was totally a part of who I am and something that I grew up around. So once I kind of detached this like piece of identity of photography being about him and just, let it be its own thing that I could also try, that's when the world kind of opened up for me and I fully fell in love. But growing up, my sister and I we did a lot of like video content. We had a little camcorder thing, and on weekends we would make these like short movies. And thinking back, it's kind of wild because I would edit these videos in the video camera. Like if I didn't like a scene, a quote unquote scene, I would go back and like rewind and then re-record over it. And it would be a lot of splicing and like different characters talking. Like it was kind of nuts, but we were very involved in that. So that was more so my world, was in like the video content world. And then I think like when I grew up a bit, everyone had their little point and shoot digital camera. And then we all, threw our photos up on, what was it called? There was like a really awful website, like Pic Collage or something.
Oh my
where you could
God.
put these through Facebook.
Through Facebook, yeah.
Yes. Where you would throw these like awful filters on them and like text and graphics. And I loved it. But yeah, that's definitely not my style anymore.
Do you have any of like that up on your Facebook now? Or did you take it all down?
No. I think a long time ago I was like, this is garbage. It's so embarrassing. But I have a couple friends that have them as like secret albums. And sometimes they'll send me photos from it. And it's just, wow. It's just amazing to see what we thought was the coolest thing. Or even just the fact that like after a night out, we would all upload photos from like a whole night out and make a Facebook album of that event. Like thinking about like, that's nuts. But that was what we did.
Yeah, I like my Facebook. I was the one with always the camera at school, like middle school, everything.
Nice.
And I still have absolutely everything still up. I don't know why, but
really,
like it's
public.
Oh my God, it's insane. I don't know why I do that to myself, but it's all up.
That's
it's all
bold.
Up there. It is,
so
but
funny.
Like it's to the point where like I didn't delete anything, where it's like, do you remember those pictures where you would like tag your friends and like characters?
Oh my gosh, yes. I know exactly what you're talking about. Wow,
yeah,
you have it all.
I didn't delete that thing.
That's like, it's almost like a time capsule.
It truly is. Like when I see that, I'm like, oh my God.
Good for you.
No.
But honestly,
Facebook's
I feel like
dead now.
That's the thing. Like no one's on there. So I feel like you're safe. You're good. You can keep it up forever. No one will check it out.
Even if I go into politics, you can just find anything on me at this point. So I'm just like, I'm an open book. I don't care. Like everything's online. You got into the world of photography quite like abruptly, like in 2019. And then so once you decided, okay, this is what I want to do, did you just kind of go full force freelancing, or did you work with a company?
Yeah. So I would say before 2019, back when I was in university, I had a lot of blogs. So either I was running a blog with a friend of mine or my own blog. There was a period where I had just like multiple back to back because I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do, but I just knew I loved creating online content. And a big piece of that was the photography aspect. I didn't know how to use a camera technically. Like I would just shoot on automatic, just loved seeing, especially when I would get like a really nice photo with good depth of field. I thought I was like a master of photography, and it was just the camera kind of doing its own thing. But I really, really loved making pictures. So that, I would say, in a sense, like it's always been in my realm of things that I'd like to do. But yeah, in 2019 was really when I think things were just kind of at a lull in my life. Like I had a general store with my partner in Parkdale. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it was called Common People Shop. And we had a little small store, and it was great. Like it was a really, really fun project that the two of us had started, but I just knew that I wanted more for myself. And so I think from there, I spent a lot of time online and just seeing a lot of, my friends' work, and just on Instagram, as you do, you come across a lot of different people's art. And I just became so inspired by seeing this, and I wanted to try to create some of it for myself. So in the end of 2019, I think it was in December actually, I was invited by a good pal of mine who's an incredible film photographer, Andrew Optinella. He invited me to join the Mint Room Challenge, which is Mint Room is one of the studios in Toronto. They have a lot of different rooms that you can shoot in. And they invited, I think it was 5 photographers, and we had all these different photo challenges we had to do in one day. So some of them were, using different props or different I guess shooting scenarios that they would give us with the model, or like a word that we had to base our image off of. And it was really like they threw me in the deep end. Like I was with these professional photographers who had been shooting for years, and I was just there as a newbie, like barely knew how to use my camera. I remember asking people like, what are your settings for this with this type of light? And just in that one day, I learned so much. And I really surprised myself with some of the images I was able to create, mostly thanks to, the other people that were there and were willing to offer me some of their skills and knowledge. And from there, it just like this spark ignited in me where I was like, I want to do this more. I want to do this every day. I want to see what I can create. I love this feeling of surprise and just like how every day can be so different. So from there, I never went with like an agency or anything. It was always freelance. And I started, I think, in the way that most people start, which is you're asking your friends if they want to shoot. I shot a lot for free. I kind of started organizing different creatives. So working with some models. Luckily, one of my best friends is a wonderful model. So she connected me with some of her friends. We did a lot of fun shoots that way. And then it was just kind of like word of mouth, friends would say, oh, hey, she's just starting out, but give her a try, whatever. And it just really grew from there. And like slowly and surely, as I was getting more experience, I started increasing my prices a little bit more, started establishing a better customer experience or client experience, more so, better workflow. And it just moved very quickly. And I'm still like shocked to this day that I'm where I'm at now, because it just feels like it was like instantaneous from that day that I started to where I am now. But it's not that it just happens overnight. Like I spent hours and hours and hours on YouTube, hours and hours, practicing myself. A lot of photos that I look back on now and I'm just like, oh my goodness, what was I thinking with those edits or the lighting setup or the composition? Like, it's a lot of time kind of spent in the back end, I guess, on your own. You really have to want it, I think, especially if you're self-taught. You just have to want it, and you can only bring yourself to do it. Yeah.
I feel like so many people want to, big dreams of people are like, they want to be a fashion designer, they want to be a photographer, and to actually like make it happen it's so exciting because you're living your dream every day, right? Like you love what you do, and
totally
you can fully see it in the work that you produce as well.
Thank you. Yeah, it's and I think that there's something to be said for people who are self-taught. You're making that choice every single day to want to improve and to want to learn new skills and to test your boundaries. Whereas, not to say that like if you go to school for photography, it's bad. I don't think so at all. I wish I had known back when I started university that this was something I would have wanted to pursue, because I totally would have gone to school for it. But I just think in anything, like if you're self-taught, it's because you wanted it so badly, and like nothing is going to stand in your way. You're going to make the time. Whereas like maybe at school, you're skipping class just because it's school,
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so what is your favorite studio you've shot at in Toronto?
That's a tough one. I would say one of my favorites that I love going back to is Sol Atelier. It's in the East End.
It's stunning.
It's beautiful. I just love the neutral aesthetic, and like they've decorated it so beautifully, and they switch it up quite regularly. And the thing that I love about that studio is how consistent the light is. I've never really had a bad shoot day. Like even on a really, really dark, gloomy day, the windows are so large that it always produces good results, and I can always pretty much depend on it. So that's definitely one of my favorites. And then recently I've been shooting at Fieldwork Studio, which is in Liberty Village. It's awesome. Like they just have these, like, it's a very amazing, almost, I guess, kind of industrial warehouse type building. The windows are awesome. They're pretty vintage looking, and it just has this amazing light cast that comes through and creates these beautiful shadows. So that's definitely a second one that I've really been loving lately.
Toronto has some good studios. I know some people in Montreal and they're like, I don't know why Montreal doesn't have studios like they do in Toronto.
I think they're
Pretty
starting
lucky.
to see a lot of them coming up, and I know Sol Atelier has one in Montreal. So I think it's on the up and up. They're coming.
But Toronto's definitely like has some good spots.
Totally. And I feel like I see so many popping up kind of every now and then. So I think it's just going to continue to get better. Yeah.
Creative world in Toronto. It's fun to be part of.
It is. It can definitely be overwhelming sometimes, and like I feel like a lot of people sometimes feel like there's no space for them because like it's a massive hustle culture here. But I truly believe that there's space for everyone and that everyone, brings their own thing to the table. So it's just like keeping your head up high and just trying not to fall into the comparison trap, because I mean, it's super easy to do, but you just got to keep trying to hustle on your own.
Yes, I know. I feel that for sure. Okay, so do you prefer shooting digital or film if you had to choose one?
That's like the hardest question ever. Okay, if film wasn't so expensive, like shooting film right now is honestly so expensive. Film stock prices are going up. The price of developed film is just astronomical, especially if you're wanting like a higher res scan. But that being said, the whole process of shooting film is so different. When you're shooting digital, I'm just kind of like, you're just firing away because you can. And you can look back and you can take the same shot 50 different times super quickly and just hope you get one that's good. Whereas with film, like if you think about it in terms of dollars, like every frame can be sometimes, $5 a shot if you're shooting medium format, and you're not going to waste it. You're going to take your time. It's such an intentional process. It really demands that you slow down. You really consider your composition. You consider the light. You just like take a second to breathe. And I feel like everything in the world, especially in the world of like, I hate to call it content, but it is content, and art is so rushed. And with film, it's like, let's just chill for a sec and let's like have this moment together. And then the results are just amazing. Like there's just this incredible depth that comes with film, the grain, the texture, the nostalgia that comes with it that I just don't think can really be, it can totally be imitated, but I don't think you can replicate it exactly. Like you just can't. So film for sure. But then at the same time, digital, man, just for like price wise and the flexibility in, different lighting settings. I mean, digital just works.
I know there's a time and place for both, truly.
For sure. Totally agree. And do you shoot film at all?
I do, yes.
Have you been enjoying it?
I do. And the thing is, like, sometimes I have, and one I was able to like carry it around, but like carrying like a Fujifilm around is like, it's a whole like beast on top of like my other camera. And it's like, definitely time and place for everything.
Well, yeah, especially if you're just trying to like go out, sometimes it can be pretty clunky, and it's just, it's not like a realistic thing to bring out, especially when everyone has their phone. So I feel you.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm glad that you've explored it.
Yeah, I had the point and shoot one when I took it when I went to Paris this summer, and I was like pulling it out at the club, and like the clubs there were insane. Like it was you could imagine like clubs in Paris, imagine the architecture, but like in club form. It was insane. Like the ceilings were stunning, and I'm like, this is the place to take these pictures. And I was just like, pulled it out, and it had a brilliant flash. Like some of these, like that's the thing, like with like a more portable film cameras I like because they have the flash like part of it, whereas like other ones they're definitely, you can't just take them to a club and like pull it out.
For sure. Did you get good shots from it? Like did you get them developed?
I did, yeah. They were like stunning. I'm like, this is brilliant. It's funny because like my friends aren't quote unquote like photographers or whatnot, but because of the emergence of film, everyone like kind of has a film camera out. Yeah. And it's kind of wonderful to see, like, because you're right, like people do have to slow down, and it's not like constantly just like take a picture of me on your phone. It's like, hey, like this is a great moment. Like everybody like stop and like smile, and you have one shot to get it.
Totally.
Right?
I think when I'm speaking about slowing down is more so like in terms of portraiture, which is totally different than like, you're in the club and you're just trying to get that quick moment. And it's like, it's just more of the nostalgia and the immediacy of it. So I think film can be used in both areas, but I just wanted
Yeah.
to clarify that. Yeah, when I'm talking about slowing down, it's
Yes,
definitely
yes,
like
yes.
in studio, portrait, some chill times. But yeah, I'm so glad that
Yeah.
you got them developed and they turned out. I'm sure they're amazing. I'd love to see them.
Oh, yes. I will send them your way. Did you start wedding photography recently? Is that a new venture for you?
Yeah. So I only started shooting weddings last summer. I shot my first wedding of my own last summer, and I'm so grateful. It was like a friend of my partner's who just the most easygoing couple ever. Like she's like, I honestly don't care. If I just get one good picture, I'm happy. And which almost stressed me out more because I was like, you're a friend. Like I never want to
Yeah.
let anyone down, but I was just like, the pressure was on, even though she was really creating the most chill environment possible. And that wedding it was like the universe was like, we're going to make this as challenging for you as possible. We had every type of weather that day. Like the wind was blowing like crazy. Her veil was like almost flew into the water. We were on the Toronto Island. So almost went into the water a bunch of times. Like we're trying to take couple photos and like his suit is like flying up in his face and she's getting tossed around. And then it was torrential downpours. So we had to do some photos like with everyone under umbrellas. It was like every possible weather that day happened and it was nuts, but it made it so much more fun. And it just kind of like, it forced me to put all my anxieties aside because I was dealing with the elements and like just
Yeah.
getting the job done. It was a lot of fun. And just to have someone who's a friend as well, that really gave me the feeling of like, you know what, I can let loose a little bit in the evening and just, take some really fun flash photos just for fun because like I'm off the clock and let's just do this. And those are some of my favorite photos from that whole day.
Yeah.
So on top of that, I started second shooting for a few other photographers as well. And, shot weddings of 180 people with like a huge budget and incredible decor and multiple outfits. And then also like really small intimate weddings. So it gave me a really good idea and a sense of kind of how the day can take place, what some of the main moments are, and just kind of like what I guess the quote unquote schedule is so that I know for future. And then I just got to learn so much from different photographers and how they approach different situations. Like some people are like getting so close. Like I want these portraits of, people together to be tight. And then some people are like, I love a lot of scenery. I want to be able to tell the story. So it was just a really awesome summer. And after the first 12-hour wedding that I did with a friend of mine, like the next day my hand was a claw. I've never been that exhausted. Like there's a stamina that you need for wedding photography that is just unparalleled. Like I truly had carpal tunnel. I was suffering and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. But it's like once you get the first one out of the way, you're just good to go. And you're like rolling. And I
I'm
loved it
curious,
so
how many
much.
shots do you get if you're shooting a
So
12-hour day?
I mean, in the 12 hours, you're shooting thousands of photos, but you're only delivering. I mean, for myself personally, I like to deliver about 70 photos an hour, which is still like quite a lot because most weddings will be like 8 to 10 to 12 hours. So you're getting a
Yeah.
lot of photos, but yeah, like our cameras are really heavy. And most of the time we have two of them on us. And just like the way that you're holding your camera, like truly my hand was just stuck and I was not okay the next day, but it was so fun. And this summer is like it's just slammed with weddings and I'm so excited. I actually
Yeah.
start my first one in 2 weeks and it's going to be great. Yeah.
Wow, it's the start of it. Start of wedding season already.
I know, I can't believe it's happening.
And
But
the
it's going to be
fact that like
awesome.
everything's like lifted too and there's no restrictions on weddings, it's going to be
Okay, I didn't
insane.
realize that had happened until I guess it was the other day, right? On the first. And
It
then everyone was
it
like,
happened
"No,
yesterday.
yeah, okay." And I was like, "Wait, what?" I feel like I like missed an announcement. So, yeah, that's gonna be different, I think. I think it's definitely gonna look different than last summer, but I think we've all kind of figured out a way to just like make it work and be safe and respectful and
Yep.
like have a really good time. So, I think it'll be good.
And okay, so what is your favorite thing to shoot? Is it editorial, portraits, weddings, or brands?
I mean, I love shooting all of those things but I love shooting portraits within all of those different I guess, facets of it. Like even during weddings, I love doing the couple portraits or just like the bride on her own or the groom on his own. There's just, I don't know, there's something about portraiture that I'm just so drawn to. And I don't know if it's like the one-on-one time, seeing how like one person can tell a whole story just on their own. Yeah, there's something I'm so, so drawn to with that. But I definitely would love to do some more editorial stuff in the coming year. I really want to book a few more creatives and just, collaborate with different makeup artists and stylists in the city. And we have some amazing models and like so much talent here that I really want to work with. So I want to try some new stuff for sure.
There's so many brands too in Toronto that like
tons.
There's a lot you can do as a photographer. It's very exciting.
Yeah, and I feel like everyone's got like a very unique take on their brand. And so with that, it's almost like it's this fun challenge of, like how can I make this different, but also make it something that people want to look at and or buy, So yeah, it's cool. I love seeing what's out there. And this city, like it just never ceases to amaze me how much talent is in this city and how much new stuff comes out every single day.
Yeah, that's why like with this podcast, like I would say 90% of the people on it are creatives from Toronto itself, because
amazing.
It's just never ending, right? Like the talent here is insane. Okay, so over the years, taking pictures has just like become more accessible for literally everyone. And so what's your take on pictures on social media as a photographer's point of view?
I mean, you're totally right. It's become completely accessible. Like everyone, just for having a phone, can virtually call themselves a photographer because you are making pictures with what you have with you. The thing that I find challenging, especially as a photographer, is because it's so accessible, a lot of people will either not know what goes into a shoot, for example. And then with that, they could have like some really aggressive sticker shock when it comes to your pricing. Because I mean, when we're breaking down pricing, we're taking into account, first of all, our experience, the value that we're bringing to our client, planning the shoot, rentals that we need to rent, the cost of our equipment, which is incredibly expensive. The cost of our insurance, the cost of the programs that we use to be able to deliver the photos, or just our client services programs. Like there are so many fees that go into a quote that we would build out for a client. And I think that people think that the only thing they're paying for is for us to be there on set that day and like hit a button. And it's like, that's just the smallest slice of the cake. We're spending hours and hours and hours preparing for the shoot, pulling inspiration, making sure that everything's in place to really achieve the vision that someone has in mind, and then hours and hours and hours editing. And I myself am just such a perfectionist in editing. Like I go between Lightroom and Photoshop. And it kind of sucks because at this point, I feel like I'm so used to picking out imperfections to try to make an image perfect that it like kind of takes away the joy from it a little bit sometimes. And I have to check myself and be like, okay, relax. Like it's good. It's fine. You don't need to, zoom in a million times. No one's going to notice those things. But there's just so much work that goes into it. And I don't think that many people are really aware of that. And so it can be difficult. Like sometimes you'll lose out on a job because a brand will just hire an influencer to take iPhone photos because it's more, I guess, more accessible to them and they have a bigger platform. So it's just challenging to navigate a little bit. And it's hard when your art, especially like if you're working on a personal project, kind of gets recycled in the same way that just regular old content does, because that's just how it works, right? Like social media is just your image has an impact for like 5 minutes and then it's just on to the next thing. So that's what's tough. Or I know a lot of people don't like their work being called content. So yeah, it's like a weird thing to navigate, but that's just our reality now. And at the end of the day, I'm just happy that people are able to express themselves through imagery, whatever way that is. Yeah, I wish there was just a little bit more awareness in terms of like what goes into this. And also like, it's not our hobby, like it's our livelihood. And this is our career.
Yeah, no, I'm on board with that. Like it's hard to wrap my head around the fact that like through social media, it's, static images aren't being like admired as much as they used to, right? And like in
Yeah.
photography as well. It's so frustrating for people who are photographers because they're like
Mhm.
you said, like their content, quote unquote content, isn't it's just being treated like another like iPhone picture or whatnot. And like there people are still it's
Exactly.
just another scroll, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's so unfortunate. But there are people out there who like do appreciate it, right? Like when they see an image, they can appreciate it. Like other photographers appreciate other photographers, right? Like they're like,
Oh,
wow, that lighting is
absolutely.
insane. So
And
people are
those are
out
the
there that,
best comments too. Yeah, because you're just like, "Thank you." Like, you know what I was
yeah.
going for and you get it. So, yeah, it's so true.
Okay. So what's your thoughts on the emergence of these short form videos, whether that be reels and TikToks?
Um, I mean, as a consumer, I enjoy it. I spend definitely way too much time on TikTok. It's like a problem in my life that I have to really check because I'm spending too much time on it. I think it's interesting and I really love the way people have been able to kind of bridge imagery with video. Or I follow a lot of people on TikTok or even like through Reels where they'll show, an iPhone versus film photo and they kind of like have them back to
Yeah.
back. And I think maybe now like the video content is just a better way of engaging people because it's a little bit more exciting and visually appealing. And I think all of us, well, I'll just speak for myself, but I definitely like my attention span has really diminished in the last,
Yeah.
few years. So to have something that's like maybe more animated or moving is definitely a better way to keep me interested. But as a creator, like I really tried actually not even that long ago to make TikToks quite regularly and it's
Like as a
exhausting.
photographer
Kind
or
of as
like
a photographer,
personal?
but also just like, yeah, just like personal, mostly just for fun because it was giving me something to do, like get out of bed, do some little like get ready with me videos. It was just a fun thing for me. But then I was like, I'm always so consumed with like, okay, is this on brand, quote unquote on brand? And it's like, I always am kind of tossing and turning between like, can I do something just for me for fun without having to think of it as like a business choice? So
Yeah.
that's something that I have to sort with on my own. But anyway, I was doing these TikTok videos and then after a while, it's like you end up in a busy week and you have a lot of shoots booked or you have a ton of editing to do. And making a TikTok video just like does not become a priority. So it's really hard
Yeah.
to stay consistent. And it sucks because that's how that app works. Like it's so based on consistency so that you can grow. So, I mean, I enjoy it, but I find it really hard to stick to as a creator. Do you do them?
It's definitely yes. No, I am on TikTok and like
Nice.
it's a whole beast. Like
Yeah.
but the thing is also it's I got on TikTok to understand it for my full-time job because
Oh,
I'm on TikTok for the brand that I work for as well. Like I'm the face of it.
okay.
And then I was trying to learn it on my personal one and it's funny cuz like my personal one like kind of blew up. So it's like
That's amazing.
yeah, but it's a lot. TikTok is a whole beast and
How many
it's
hours a
definitely
day do you say you spend like making content for TikTok?
like some days like for the brand that I work for, like it would be like 5 hours, right?
Oh,
But then
wow.
but that would be like 5 hours for 2 weeks of content, which is not that bad to be completely
Okay.
honest.
Yeah.
But then there are other days where like like I have no energy. Like I can't do it.
And that's the thing. It's like it doesn't take into account being a human being,
Yeah.
right? It's just like you need to make content no matter how you're feeling. And like, I just don't subscribe to that. It's just not realistic.
Yeah, I definitely like feel for like these quote unquote influencers or whatnot who have to show up every day. Like I think I was
Yeah.
listening to like Emma Chamberlain and she's like, I'm not on YouTube anymore. Like I can't do it. Like I can't
Yeah.
pretend that like I need to like if I'm not don't want to film that day, like
Exactly.
I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
It's a different
And I
world.
mean, good for them because it sucks. Like it takes balls, I guess, to kind of like step back because if you step back, you're not making videos and then your views drop and your following drops and your engagement drops. But it's like you're a person first. And I think you got to just focus on getting through life, especially right now and especially in the last 3 years. So yeah, good for them.
Yes. Okay. Disregard all TikTok, whatever. It's a whole different
No
world.
joke. Yeah.
So what's been the hardest part about being a photographer full time?
I think for me, I mean, it really depends on kind of like the time of the month for me, to be honest. But sometimes more than others, I definitely get lost in the comparison game. And, I spend so much time scrolling and just beating myself down or like speaking to myself really poorly because I'm comparing myself to either, photographers that have been in the industry for years and years and years who have a very established style, or just seeing work that, maybe I got an inquiry for and someone else ended up getting the job. And it's just like, I hate that because I hate feeling that way. And I hate that that's even like a part of the process. But I think it's just natural. Like everyone kind of compares themselves. So that's something that I'm really acutely aware of. And I'm really trying to pull away from because everyone's on their own path. Sometimes other people are just genuinely better for the job and they're just going to produce, imagery that is better suited for the brand. And I want to be so happy for everyone because we're all trying at the end of the day. So that's kind of a tough one, is like pulling away from the comparison game and also getting really stuck in like a scroll cycle where I can say to my partner, like she'll be like, you're on your phone so much. And I'm like, I'm getting inspired. Like I'm doing research or whatever. And it's like, it comes to a point where you're doing so much of it that you're not actually creating anything yourself. So it's again, like walking that super fine line of like getting inspired versus like just going out and trying and failing and making work and hating work and like trying again. So that's one thing. And then the other side of it is, as a freelancer, it's not guaranteed work. Like it's constantly, showing up on social media, marketing yourself, making sure that you're providing your clients with just a 10 out of 10 experience so that you are getting those referrals or you're getting repeat clients. But it's like having to really be on all the time and like try different things and update your website and try different platforms. Like it's a lot to juggle, especially as one person, while also having enough energy to be creative and like produce really good work. So it's just, I think all of it is just like the juggling act is a lot, but it's fun. And I never ever feel like I'm working. So that's like, I don't know who can say that. Not many people can say that about their job, I don't think.
No, they can't. No.
Yeah.
Being a freelancer and freelancers in general, they love what they do, right? Like that's why they are freelancing. And to be able to do that, like the people that I have talked to, they're all creatives and they all love what they do. And it's so refreshing because, not everyone can say that in a lifetime that they love the work that they're producing and they love exactly what they do, because people are so complacent, right? They go to school for accounting and then they become accountants and they're like, I don't want to do this, but they're just like, I need some sort of stability. And they're 50 years old and they're like, well, shit.
Exactly.
So
and
you're
I'm
living your
so
dream.
grateful for like I have such a strong gut and like that like leads my intuition. And even when I was in university, there was just this constant nagging anxiety that I just like wasn't in. I was in a place that I didn't want to be, but I didn't listen to it. And then like 6 years later, because it took me 6 years to get my undergrad, now looking back, I'm like, wow, like that time could have been used so differently had I, given myself a minute and just like broken away from, like you said, like societal norms and this idea of like chasing stability or like a traditional work path. But yeah, now I definitely know, listen to your gut always.
Is there a favorite picture or moment in your career? I'm curious if there's a favorite picture.
There's definitely a favorite shoot. I would say right now, looking back, my favorite shoot was one that I did with a really amazing clothing brand called Immortel, and they are a sustainable hemp-based clothing line that a good friend of mine started. And my friend Anetta, who's the designer and creator, she kind of brought me along and we really just did like a little trade. I was like, I love your designs. I would love to shoot some images for you in exchange for some of the garments. And we did that. And it was the most easygoing, chill shoot ever. The model that, excuse me, worked with us is an actor based out of BC, Genevieve, and she's so awesome. And the three of us just like immediately jived right away. We spent the whole day like eating vegan snacks and like chatting and laughing and singing in the car. And we were out in the Scarborough Bluffs and just like chilling on the sand and like climbing rocks. I don't know. It was so relaxed. And I think the images really reflect that playfulness. And I love that they turned out very like California, LA vibes, because Toronto, like right now, I feel like most of the year is just so blah garbage outside. And that
Yeah.
shoot, I was just like, okay, I can like create work that gives me this like feeling of warmth that I long for 6 months out of the year. So
Yeah.
loved those. I always come back to that shoot and I'm just like, damn, I can't wait to do something like that again because that was so much fun. But I think right now, like my favorite image that I took is one that's on my Instagram and it's a picture of my nonna. And I had rented this amazing Mamiya RZ67. It's a medium format film camera. And I was at her house and I was like, can I just take a picture of you? And she was so cute. We went upstairs to her bedroom and she just posed herself. Like she went and sat on the corner of her bed and looked outside the window and was like, is this good? And it was totally perfect. And that moment, like she has this really subtle smile on her face, the windows illuminating her face, and she's a very short woman. Like I saw her yesterday and I'm like, girl, you are shrinking every day. She must be like 4'10", like just so little. And in that picture, she doesn't look that little. Like she just
Wow.
looks like she fills up the frame for me. And I think she's also wearing like she wears a lot of bandanas on her head because she gets migraines a lot. And I think she's wearing one in that photo. And that's just like exactly how I know her. And like
Yeah.
wearing a sweater that she knit herself. And like, yeah, that for me is just one of my favorites because she's my favorite person in the whole world. And it was like such a sweet moment we had, just the two of us. And then like a couple other frames we took of that day, she was like, should I look at you? How should I put my hands? Like she was so involved in the process and it was
Yeah.
just really special. So yeah, I think that's my favorite.
That's a great like favorite picture. I'm very excited to go see this after.
It's pretty cute. She's a cutie.
Okay, so with phones and I mean, I don't know if you carry a film camera wherever you go, but do you find yourself stopping to take pictures multiple times a day or like what does your camera roll look like?
My camera roll is pure chaos. It's either like, okay, first of all, yes, I carry my film camera around with me most of the time. But like you said, it's not a point and shoot. Like it's one that I can switch out the lenses on
The
it. So it is a
lenses?
little
Okay.
bulkier, which makes it a little bit more challenging to carry around. But I really try to because I think even like just in the last couple of years, I realized how important it is to have physical images. Like I really want to start printing pictures
I
and like
print all my
making.
pictures.
Oh
I
my
have
gosh, good
so
for
many. I've been
you.
printing since like grade 9 of high school. Like even if I took a picture like on Snapchat or something, I saved everything and I printed everything. So I have
Oh my
like
gosh.
so many albums. It's
Do
great.
you
You
have
should
them
print
as, like,
everything.
individual pictures that you put, like, in the olden days? Like, not the olden days, this is, like, 2000, where you put them in, like, the plastic slides or, like,
Of
were they
course.
printed. Oh, see,
Of
that's the move.
course.
That's
I have
exactly what
like
I wanna
huge
do.
albums. Like I have so many just huge albums.
Ugh. Okay, well, you're living the dream. That's exactly what I want to start doing. So even like I have so many cameras and I'm trying to give my partner one of them to be like, because I don't have any photos of myself really. And I'm like, can you just take some like here and there whenever whatever the inspiration
Some
strikes?
candid shots.
Yeah, just like some candid shots so that in the future I can be like, look at how cool your mom was, guys. But I don't know if it's gonna happen. So I either shoot stuff on my film camera, which I love because I it's so fun getting your scans back. And then
Yeah.
my phone, like my phone right now, I think has like 40,000 photos on it, which is disgusting. And it stresses me out. It's too much, but I'm always chasing light. So like if ever I see a
Yep.
really nice, like kind of golden hour, the light's coming through the window, I have so many pictures of just a wall with like light rays coming through the window. That's my favorite. And I take so many pictures of my dogs because they're so cute. So that's another thing. But it's been tough. I mean, like I haven't gone anywhere in the last 2 years. I haven't traveled at all. So right now it's mostly just like either photos that I'm downloading from my galleries of like my client work or yeah, pictures of my dogs, pictures of like light and stuff that I take with my film camera. It's kind of like a weird mix. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think, it's I don't know what they call it, but like I've seen, I don't know if it was on TikTok, but like when you film like very like key moments, things that like bring you joy in the day, like these small moments. And
Hmm.
I find that like I feel like I see something and I'm like, this just would be a great picture. And there's this huge connotation of like put your phone down. Like you don't need to take pictures of
Yeah.
everything. But
No, exactly.
sometimes sometimes it's
But even
nice to
like,
take
I'm
that
actually just
picture.
looking through my phone right now. Like, even last night, I was visiting my grandparents and like, I just took this little photo of my nonna like watching TV because I was like, you're so cute. And then my nonna, like, I love seeing people in their natural element and like catching a
Yeah.
little candid moment where like they don't know that I'm taking the picture, but that's how I want to remember them by. Yeah. And then it's just like a million photos of my dog. So chaos, I'm telling you.
It's something amazing to be able to take these pictures so quickly with your
Mhm.
phone, and I think it's a huge like bonus of phones. Like there's obviously a huge like social media, like having your phones all the time out. It's
Yeah.
just but there's definitely some perks.
Oh, for sure. Totally. It's nice to like, yeah, to have the immediacy of like snapping a moment and remembering it.
Yes. Okay, I'm gonna fire off some questions. You can just pick.
Okay.
Okay, shooting landscape or portrait in terms of the shot?
In terms of the shot, do you mean just like what's
Like
my
vertically,
preferred?
horizontally?
Yeah.
Yeah, which
Okay.
one?
I shoot portrait 99% of the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, shooting landscape or portrait in terms of location versus person?
Definitely portrait for a person. And if it's like a large landscape, I'll do it landscape. But if it's more of like a detail shot of a landscape, I still shoot portrait.
Okay,
I'm
fair.
definitely, yeah, I'm a portrait girl.
And then in a do you like a controlled environment in studio or natural light outside?
Natural light for sure. I'm starting to
Okay.
love studio a lot more, but I just love natural light. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely like harder to control, obviously. But once you have good lighting and it's natural, it's
Oof.
like, well, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no better
Okay.
feeling.
Okay, if you could go back and give your 18-year-old self some advice, what would it be?
Okay, I would tell young 18-year-old me, first of all, take a damn gap year, slow your roll. You don't need to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But no, truly, I would say listen to your gut. It's never wrong. And you don't need to feel pressured to follow a traditional career path to be successful or to make something out of yourself. I think truly follow what you love and something really special will come out of it because the love that you have for it and the passion you have for it is what's going to keep you invested in it and it won't steer you away and you won't get burnt out or tired of it. So, yeah, just ultimately listening to who you are and like following that.
Yeah, okay. That's great advice for younger Kayla.
Yeah, right? Little baby.
And then do you have advice for someone who wants to work as a photographer in a full-time capacity?
Yeah, definitely. Shoot all the time. Just every type of photography. I think a lot of people will try to tell you to niche right away and like that's the way to success, but I don't think you can niche or like find a niche without, trying all the options and seeing what you're drawn
Yeah.
to, what you just straight up don't enjoy shooting. So try everything. Bring your camera with you. You're going to shoot a lot for free in the beginning, but don't let that deter you. It's just experience. And if anything, you're learning about lighting, you're learning about just how to be with other people in vulnerable moments. You're learning, again, what you like and don't like. You're learning how to work with light. So, all of those are lessons, even if you're not necessarily being paid for them. But, those pay off. They're portfolio pieces that will eventually get you paid work. Keep posting shots of like work that you want to get down the line. Like I shoot a lot of corporate stuff, but I don't share that on social media because that's not necessarily the work that I want to be hired for. It's like it's
Yeah.
great money and I enjoy doing it, but it's not what I'm hoping to do more of down the line. And the other thing that I would just say is treat absolutely everyone with respect. Absolutely everyone. No one, depending on, what role they have or what their title is in a business or anything like that. Like no one's different. Everyone is a human being and treat them with the respect because you never know who knows somebody, how someone could, be a helpful hand in the next step of your career. And I mean, your reputation is everything. So just be yourself, be respectful, shoot as much as you possibly can, try all the different things, and follow your gut.
That's a great advice. Someone once said on this podcast, they're like, you're only as good as your last job. So
That is
truly,
so true.
treat
Wow.
everyone with
Yeah.
respect and, put everything you have for it. Otherwise it'll show, right, at the end?
Totally. 100%. Yeah.
Okay. So what is next for you?
So this summer is Wedding City, and I'm pumped for it. I'm actually one of the weddings that I was hired for. I was hired to just shoot film at the wedding,
Wow,
and I
that's
am
so exciting.
so stoked. I'm so pumped to just get really creative with that and see how the film scans turned out. So lots and lots of weddings. My partner and I are also moving back to Toronto. We moved to Hamilton for a year, hated it, and we're like, nope. So we're coming back, and I could not be more excited. And yeah, just trying to better balance work and life. Like I made a whole mood board, not even a mood board, but like a vision board, I guess, for myself at the beginning of the year. And one of them was a little text blurb that said, don't work more than you live. And I really have trouble with that. So that's something that I'm actively trying to be better at. So yeah, hopefully like plan some trips. It'd be nice to go somewhere new.
Yeah.
TBD. Yeah.
The
How about
world's
you?
what about
Like, do you
life
have
or
any yeah, like life, like do you have any trips planned?
yeah, well, I'm going to Calgary next week, which is exciting.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
super random. My friend lives there, so hopping on a
Okay.
plane going to Calgary.
Have you been before?
Yeah, I went in the summer because he bought a house there, so we're just like, we'll
Oh,
come
nice.
visit you. Um,
That's cute.
but yeah, I feel like I'm a little like traveled out. Like for the past 5 months, I've been on a plane every month. So
Oh,
I'm
okay. Must
like,
be
I'm a
nice.
I'm a travel person, so I'm like, I'm tired of unpacking. I just need to take a minute.
Yeah,
But no, I truly like love the world, and I try and like hop on a plane as much as I can. I'm like,
that's so
okay,
cool.
any opportunity, I'm like, okay, I'm going.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
at the
good for
beginning,
you.
it's the thing is like when the pandemic started, I was living in Amsterdam on exchange. So
No
I
way.
like it was the craziest thing ever. And
So I guess it got cut short.
well, I came back for a month and then I ended up going back to Amsterdam and I lived there again for like 4 months, I think. So it was quite
In the middle
yeah.
of COVID, like the beginning of COVID.
Yeah, I came
Whoa.
back home because I was like, it's so like, what's happening? Like, it's so
Yeah.
unprecedented that I'm like, what am I doing? And then I like kind of like was like, I was still doing school Amsterdam time and I was producing a magazine there. So it was a very small like exchange. Like, I was the only exchange student in a class of 30 and like it was their
Okay.
like minor or whatever. So I was the
Yeah.
only Canadian. There was two of us actually, and one girl stayed and I came back, but I was working on Amsterdam time. So it was like 3 a.m. and I'm like,
Oh
I'm coming
gosh.
back. So
Yeah.
we had a whole launch party and like COVID was like so normal there. Like when I went back, like it was really weird. It was very strange for me. But we had like a
Whoa.
whole launch in like June of 2020. Like it was a lot, but definitely,
Wow.
yeah. Anyways, needless to say, I'm a travel person. I love the
Yeah. Oh my
world.
gosh. I love that you were just like, I'm gonna go back. I was definitely like, I'm gonna stay home the most. But yeah, good for you. I'm so jealous.
I was just so mad at myself for making the decision to come back. Like in my gut, like it told me to stay because I would be on Amsterdam time anyways. And like I was
Mm,
waiting because I was born in Toronto. I was born and raised in
yeah.
Toronto, went to school in Toronto, didn't leave for school. And that was my one thing where I was like, I'm going on exchange. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing that will stand in my way. And I was like, well, shit, never
Oh,
mind. So I
man.
truly made the most of it, and like I went back and like I ended up exploring the Netherlands because we couldn't really travel in Europe at the time. So
Yeah.
I was exploring the Netherlands and I fell in love, and I'm surprised I'm not living there now. Like I've gone back I think a few times since, which is a lot. I went in
Yeah,
December,
that is a lot.
and I just like have a whole world there. Like all of my friends are there now, and it's don't be
Oh.
surprised if you see me in Amsterdam sometime soon. Just
Yeah,
I'm
it
like,
feels like
move to
that's in
Amsterdam.
your future. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
so cool. Good
it's
for
in my
you.
soul. But yeah, that's me.
Nice.
Enough about me.
No, I loved
Okay,
it. Loved it.
Where can everybody find you?
So on Instagram, I'm at Kaela with an E _ Leone, Leone. Or I also have Kaela Leone Weddings on Instagram. And my website is just kaelaleone.com. And yeah, that's where you find me. Or on TikTok if you want to see me just like getting dressed. I think it's the same. Yeah, same username.
It's amazing because like when you Google people now, like so many things pop up and it's great. If you're creative, it's like, which one do I pick?
I know. I feel like it's
easy to stalk us.
I know. I feel like I have to do like an internet sweep and be like, ooh, got to tick some of those off. It's too much.
Yeah. Only when I like become a politician or something, I'll be a little bit worried. But for now, I'm like, just look at it all. I don't care.
You got time.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Thank you so much for listening, and thank you to our guests for joining us. You can find the Sunday Podcast on streaming platforms. You can also find us on Instagram at SundayCreativeTO for all your business tips and creative inspiration. See you next time on the Sunday Podcast.